What's going on, reefers? Blaine here. We are back in the retail store and we are hanging out in front of the 50-gallon display. I wanted to give you all an update, and as you guys can see right down here below, I brought in some of my own personal mangroves from my grow out, and we're gonna be adding in one of this big boys into the tank today. I wanted to stop real quick. We're gonna start talking about all the new things that have been added into the system. We've added a ton of cleanup crew into the tank. We've got astrea snails, we've got trochus, we've got Nerret snails, we've got all kinds of different snails. We've got a couple different urchins, we've added some conchs, and as you guys can see, the ugly stage, some of the new algae are starting to form, and it's something we're starting to combat. We talked about it a lot in the previous video. If you guys haven't seen that already, by the way, about a month ago, we did the actual update and the showcase of this tank, how it all got started. Be sure to check that one out first. I'll make sure to leave a link wherever it may be on the screen. We'll leave a link for that video. Check that out so you guys have an update of the entire system, then come back and check out this video. When we ended up setting up this tank, originally, Kevin had the idea in mind of adding in a mangrove up top. This is a truly intricate rockwork scape setup, and up top, he's built what is basically a pot that can hold a mangrove. It's completely sealed off from all the other rockwork, and what we have inside is we're gonna be adding in miracle mud, some sand, and also one thing to tell you guys right off the rip with mangroves is they're gonna want tap water, right? They're not gonna want RODI water because RODI water has already stripped out all those things, those minerals and all the things that they enjoy so much. So it's important to be able to add in tap water and keep them nice and moist. So to be able to do that, we had to kind of segregate that little section and create an area where it's going to be blocked off and it's not going to seep into the tank, because obviously we don't want tap water getting into the system. That'll make things a little bit difficult being able to maintain a nice, clean and healthy reef tank. Outside of adding in the mangrove, let's talk a little bit about the tank. I'm also interested to hear down in the comments below what kind of fish and what kind of corals you guys think we should be adding in. If you guys have seen one of our videos we've done here on the channel, we checked out Kevin's desk tank, also an extremely unique system, and it's really cool how he's gone with a lot of soft corals and LPS, things that are nice and flowy. He's got all the air plants up top. I think that's a tank that he's going to try and mirror when it comes to the stocking in the retail store with the 50-gallon lagoon. For me though, I think honestly a harem of possum wrasses in here would be incredible, and I think it'd be really cool to see. Those are some of my favorite fish, and I think having a big group of them is something really unique and you don't see all the time. I wanted to mention once again, shout out to Kessel for hooking us up with these track light systems. I have to say these are gonna be perfect for the mangrove. One thing I will say is mangroves will pretty much take as much light as they can get, right? So having the opportunity of spotlighting down two of these lights and kind of focusing on them on a more Kelvin, more of a natural looking spectrum is gonna be super important to make sure that this mangrove maintains a super healthy lifestyle. It's really important too to give them that full photo period, right? Just the same as your tank's gonna be getting, right? Your reef tank's gonna want a full photo period. Your mangrove's gonna want it as well. So gonna be awesome to be able to see this thing grow out and get going. And I think too, here in the next couple weeks, we may be doing some trimming to try and encourage a lot of that outwards growth, getting some branches and things like that. Overall though, the tank's doing really well. I have to say, I love coming in here every single day and seeing this motion of the ocean. I mean, the wave box and how Kevin has truly designed an unbelievable way of creating a super dynamic way of flow. I mean, if you look at the rockscape, right, we have a lot of different ways and parts that need to get hit with flow. And the way he's created this system, there is no doubt that there is water moving all around this tank. We're excited about getting some fish in here. We're gonna be adding in some corals soon. And so definitely stay tuned and be sure to subscribe down below so you guys don't miss up any of those updates as well. Now let's go ahead and get into the mangrove that we're gonna be adding in. So I've had this mangrove, I actually collected it locally about a year ago here in Florida when I first came here. Mangroves are some of my favorite things to add into tanks. I think they truly bring a very dynamic style. It's kind of more freshwater in a way, you know, adding in plants into your tank. But I love the fact that it's a new element to add in as well. You know, you have a nice little canopy. It's another addition as well. You know, if you like plants, if you're a plant person, then you may really enjoy keeping mangroves as well. I've done a lot of different systems in the past, whether it be nano tanks with mangroves, whether it be just growing out mangroves themselves by themselves alone, or just having a group of mangroves in my backyard. Currently, I just have a giant Tupperware bin basically full of sand and soil, and then I have it filled up with fresh water, keeping it nice and wet, and then I have all these planted out. I came today, I ripped that one out, and then what we're gonna do is we're just gonna add it in directly up top. I wanted to, go ahead and drop in a bunch of fun facts and things that if you guys are new to mangroves, to help you guys out. Big shout out to my buddy Tyler Wells. He has an Instagram. If you guys haven't seen it before, it goes inland_reef. He has a ton of mangroves. He kills it when it comes to that. And Tyler gave me these tips and tricks that I'm gonna share with you right now. Our first tip is to start your journey with a mangrove propagule rather than a young tree. If you didn't already know, mangrove trees don't drop seeds like a lot of other plants. Instead, they grow their seeds in their flowers and release these developed seedlings called propagules. It can be tempting to try and start with a more developed and impressive looking mangrove for your tank, but trying to move anything more developed than a propagule runs the risk of damaging roots and stressing out the plant. Additionally, if you're looking to source your own mangrove propagules from the wild, be sure to check your local laws and make sure you acquire them legally and ethically. Tip 2 is to plan your system around the mangrove, not the other way around. I'm sure you might look at a well-developed system and think, wow, that looks great, but it looks even better with a mangrove. But unfortunately, changing an established system to accommodate a mangrove can be a huge headache and potentially crash your tank in the process. These trees can take a lot of special care and consideration to grow out, so adding them to your system from the start gives you the best chance of success for not only the mangrove, but anything else you add to your system moving forward. Tip number 3 is a bit obvious, but something we all might need to remember once in a while. Mangroves are living things just like our fish and coral, and just like everything else in the tank, we need to think about the conditions these trees require in the wild so we can emulate them at home. They require 8 to 12 hours of light and are going to be adapted to a different spectrum than your coral would be. Adjusting your lighting or even getting separate lighting for your mangrove closer to the red and white spectrums, as well as that extra light time, will be essential to your mangrove's health and success. Tip 4 is to avoid just shoving the mangroves into substrate and calling it a day. Catering to the roots of these plants is really key, especially with the red mangroves. These are the ones that extrude the salt that they've absorbed through their root systems. Broken roots mean no absorbing nutrients in and no expelling salt out, which can affect both the short-term and long-term health of your mangrove. If you did find a root that is damaged or breaks in any way, shape, or form, using super glue to help cover the damaged areas gives your mangrove a better chance of avoiding further damage and recovering. Our final tip is to mount your mangroves high and let those roots grow downward. Like I said, keeping in the mind of these trees is really key when planning to put them in your tank. In the wild, mangroves can spread almost as far out with their roots as they do their trunks, so giving them that downward space to really spread out helps them become more established in a long term. A large, stable root system will help get you the canopy everyone is after as well. Tyler personally uses clear acrylic rods and fishing line whenever he's adding new mangroves to his system to help get that nice downward growth. All right, enough talk about, the tank itself, how it's been going, the mangroves, all the fun facts we've talked about just now. Let's get to planting this thing into this bowl up top, and then let's check out how the tank looks. Okay, so I brought in a couple mangroves, right? But I think we're gonna just go with the single one. I think over time, as it kind of grows out in this pot area, the roots, the prop roots in general, I don't want, all the other trees getting kind of clogged up and not have the ability to grow. So we'll focus in on just this one main mangrove. We've already added in some miracle mud and we've added in some tap water. It's important to have a substrate for these mangroves, right? They're gonna wanna have something they can kind of anchor into, and also it's good to have something they can grab some nutrients out of. Some little tip as well, you can add in maybe like a root tab from Seachem, something like that. Any kind of nutrient tab getting in there is gonna be good for these mangroves to kind of absorb some nutrients as well. Well, we have this mangrove, let's go ahead and get it inside. One thing you wanna make sure, right, you're trying to maintain not breaking up any of these roots, especially these fresh white new root growths. You wanna make sure that they're staying nice and healthy. Don't wanna break any of those as you make your way into the system. What's nice is these roots will grow down into the substrate and you don't really have to worry about, digging it in, really kind of working it into that substrate, possibly breaking any of the roots. Can kind of keep it on that top side, and then those roots really can work their way down. If it's also up higher, you might promote a little bit more of those aerial roots coming down, some really nice prop roots. And I think that'd look really cool if some of them kind of start coming over the rock work and working that way. But when we put it right there, mangrove looks pretty good. It's directly underneath these two lights, and having that space, right, where it's gonna kind of travel towards the light is really gonna be nice. And the other thing too is you can potentially at any point maybe start bonsaiing it in a way, trying to force it to maybe create a canopy a little bit upwards. So Looks really nice. We'll go ahead and get some money shots. Well, we're all wrapped up. We've got the mangrove planted into the display tank. It's really nice, looking good. I'm excited about this one. Obviously, this is a younger tree. It's only just about over a year old, so gonna take some time before it develops and starts really filling in. But I think for right now, it's the perfect size for this tank to kind of start out and let this whole thing kind of build together, you know, grow as one thing. I want to say I really enjoyed giving you guys a little bit of an update of what's going on here in the retail store with this new display tank. If you guys are local, be sure to come out, check it out, shop in the store, and let me know what you think of the new Mangrove and how the tank's looking overall. If you guys enjoyed this one, drop a comment down below what you guys think of adding into any kind of mangrove into your system. This was a lot of fun. If you guys haven't done so already, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell notification so you don't miss out on any future uploads.